want to warn you in advance that the things I'm about to tell you in this post might shock you and evoke unpleasant feelings. But friends, I simply have to get it off my chest. In real life, I wouldn't even dare to tell such things. But here it seems easier, I guess. My whole family has the flu, my wife, and 2 of my little ones. They're on antibiotics with temperatures nearing 40 degrees Celsius. I can't afford to get sick. There's work, you know. So the entire family went to stay with Grandma to spare me from the flu. The family left, but you scoundrels stayed behind. And I got sick. Medications don't work on me. No matter how many antibiotics I take, the effect is practically non-existent. My body hardly responds to chemical treatments. It needs truly massive doses. But that's beside the point. That was yesterday. I'm alone at home with a temperature of 38+ degrees Celsius or something. I'm still functional, but not very well. The temperature tends to rise, but I'm not overly concerned because I urgently need to get work done. Apparently, I was already delirious by then, otherwise I would never have done what I did. I decided to take 2 grams of Mex to boost my spirits. Fool that I am. I have my own stash, but I have never tried Meeks before. A friend brought it from Amsterdam. So I swallow the mushroom capsules without even tasting them. Damn me if I can explain coherently right now why I thought it was precisely 2 grams. By that time, I feel like I'm burning up. I measured 39.6 degrees Celsius. I thought, this is it, I'm screwed. I won't even be able to call an ambulance if I need to. And with these gloomy thoughts, the trip hits me. I've had different trips before, and I've seen a lot of tripping people, but I'm sure nobody has experienced anything like this. Until yesterday, I just couldn't fathom what a real bad trip was. And believe me, friends, you don't know what it is either. Death in my trip was a divine gift, so eagerly desired that I simply stare blankly at the keyboard, trying to recreate the feelings and sensations I went through and can't find the right words. But I must, otherwise I'll never touch mushrooms again. And for me, that would be truly tragic. After all, mushrooms have become something for me that sometimes help me realize the impossible to comprehend, to understand and accept what common sense so vehemently rejects. All right, so it all started when objects in the room began to move chaotically around the house. At first, the thought of Brownian motion came to mind, and I felt like I turned into a particle, a molecule, who knows what. It was amusing to fly around the room, but it didn't last long. The thought of my high temperature kept bothering me, making it hard to focus on flying. Over time, I started to symbiotically interact with the objects flying past me, creating new types of structures, like a Simbra sofa, a Simrocoat hanger, and so on. It was interesting, but apparently that wasn't the point. Suddenly, the wall with the front door exploded into millions of shards, scattering across the room and adding new particles to this fantastic dance. Before the particles could settle into their rightful places, a chilling void pulled at me, and the particles began to be drawn towards it. It wasn't scary, it was intriguing. When the room cleared of anything extraneous, except for myself, I felt a sense of longing. I stopped flying and gently landed on the couch. No thoughts, no emotions, no sensations. I was utterly blanked out. In this state of absolute stillness and bliss, I heard the pounding of running feet, snarling and murmuring. People in white burst through the breach in the wall. or at least I thought they were people. One entity, let's call it that, grabbed me by the hair. I want to note that I was fully aware that I was under the influence of psychedelics, and that this was just a trip, not reality. I felt sharp pain. Try grabbing your own hair and yanking as hard as you can. You'll understand what I felt. They dragged me somewhere, and it wasn't easy. My body banged against protrusions, got stuck in something, and chunks of hair were ripped out. Excruciating pain. I felt blood trickling down my neck as the entity grabbed a new clump and repeated the process. I didn't understand what was happening. I screamed, hoping the neighbors would hear, break down the doors, call an ambulance or something, because I knew I was lying on my couch in my living room, suffering from a mushroom-induced nightmare. Apparently, from the pain and fear, I lost consciousness and woke up from the cold. I saw myself completely naked, lying on a metal autopsy table, slightly modified into a star shape with 5 rays, each corresponding to one of my limbs and my head, which were shackled to the table with metal rings. The word panic is too feeble and inadequate to describe my state. I wouldn't even be able to find an equivalent. I started praying to wake up again. I just wanted to be back on my beloved couch, even if the temperature was 42 degrees Celsius. Anything but here, waiting for something very, very, very terrifying. And I got what I wished for. I don't know where I was. It was dark everywhere, and only my table was illuminated by a mysterious light source. I heard the squeak of a cart's wheels carrying tools. I know a bit about medical equipment because my father is a doctor, and I often wandered around the hospitals where he worked. So the squeaking of the wheels, the sound of boots, and the murmuring continued, but more calmly now. The light shone directly into my eyes, and I couldn't see the executioners' faces, but I could see the table with the tools. God, everything was for preparing a corpse, but damn it, I'm not a corpse. I screamed, begging to be released, threatening and cursing. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do remember vividly how one of them grabbed my chin and inserted their forceps into my mouth, tearing out my tongue. I choked on blood, and from pain and shock, my legs began to convulse in a complex rhythm. Teetering on the brink of losing consciousness, I heard approving murmurs. Apparently, the other participants found it horrifyingly enjoyable. I smelled the burner and hot metal, and instantly my brain conjured up 100 horrifying scenarios. I still didn't understand where it was all going, but my head was seized as if in a vice by one Gestapo member, while the other struck my ear with a hot spike, first one ear, then the other. I screamed in agony, tearing my vocal cords, but I couldn't hear the sound of my own voice anymore. Before I could come to my senses, I received 2 blows with the same spike to my eyes. And then I blacked out. I apologize for the details, but I need to tell everything. I burst into reality, that reality, like a hurricane of pain and primal fear. I couldn't hear or see, but I felt them sawing my leg. They cut it up as if making jelly. This horror lasted for hours. Then they moved onto my arms. The worst part was the anticipation of what's next. I prayed for death so strongly that I'm still surprised my soul didn't leave my body back then. Anyway, as you can understand, it only got worse from there. I don't have the strength to remember what happened next. When I died, I woke up in the morning on the floor near the couch. I was trembling so badly that I could barely drink a glass of water. Then I fell asleep, plagued by nightmares, but they were familiar nightmares, good ones. Yeah, I've been writing this post for 2 hours, thinking I'd tell everything that happened, but I can't. I freeze over the keyboard for 5 minutes before each sentence, reliving it all over again. I don't want to.